Shalom, family. All right, that sounds very hearty and healthy. It is good to each and every one of you. Thank you. I'm glad Allah got you all here safely. First, I rise and give praise to Allah. I give honor to the Prophet. I give honor to all that pertains to Islam. Um, Before I start this constitution off, I just like to read a little excerpt from the Circle 7 Moorish Quran from our holy prophet, Noble Ali. Know thyself and thy father, God Allah. And the genealogy of Jesus with 18 years. Put my glasses on. Yes, I'm going blind, Millie. I'm going to put them on now so I can see. The genealogy of Jesus is with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings of India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love us and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely misuse these lessons, for they are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your children or your loved ones or your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons, you can set your house in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. As I am a prophet and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine, see, there go that word Palestine again. So it's not Israel, it's Palestine. And these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed the secrets. And for the first time, the Muslims of America delivered rather in the hands of the Muslims of America. All of the authority and rights of this pamphlet, 1927. Noble Drew Ali, the industrious acts of the Muslims of the Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. Islam, salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, divine constitution and bylaws. Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is the assistant Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he or she lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings ought to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because it was on a Friday that the first man was formed in the flesh. It was on a Friday that the first man departed out of flesh and ascended to his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for Muslims all over the world. Islam. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member to put in danger or to accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion that may harm his brother or sister, because what? Allah's love. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life what? Accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of this said government, but to do what? Obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of what? The earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Husband, you must support your wife and the children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love, and their bodies pure with water, and their bodies clean with water, pardon me. This divine covenant is from your holy, from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Islam. With that, thank you for your patience. You ready to step aside, and at this time, I'm gonna call up Brother Omari. He's gonna do the question period.
Islam, family. First, I rise, giving perfect praise to the great architect of the universe, Father God Allah, giving honors to his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, giving honors, giving honors to his temple number 10, also giving honors to the Grand Sheikh and Sheikhs of temple number 10, giving honors to all Moors in attendance today, and honors to Moors online. Islam. Also, before I get into 101s, I just want to ask that all members rise, face the east, feet at a 45 degree, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Repeat after Brother Fine, go.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah, my protector.
God, my protector.
My guide.
And my salvation.
By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Islam.
Pardon self, brother. I'm so sorry. I didn't have that portion.
Going to the Quran questions for Moorish children. Also, this is the question and answer period. So if anyone has any questions or want to build upon any of the 101s, please raise your hand and feel free to do so. 1, who made you?
Allah.
2, who is Allah? 3, can we see him? 4, where's the nearest place we can meet him? 5, who is Noble Drew Ali? 6, what is a prophet? 7, what is the duty of a prophet? 8, who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? 9. What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 10. Where? 11. Where was Noble Drew Ali born? 12. What is his nationality? 13. What is your nationality? 14. Why are we Moorish Americans? 15. For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 16. How did the Prophet begin to uplift the Moorish American? 17. What is our religion? 18. Is that a new or is that an old time religion? 19. What kind of flag is the Moorish? 20. What do the 5 points represent? 21. How old is our flag? 22. Which is our holy day? 23. Why? 24. Who is Jesus? 25. Where was he born? 26. Who were his father and mother? 27. Will you give in brief the line genealogy through which Jesus came?
Abraham, Boaz, Jesse, David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary.
28. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? 29. How long has that been? 30. What was the nationality of Ruth? 31. What's the modern name for Moabites? 32. Where's the Moroccan Empire? 33. What is the modern name for Mexim? Just to go back to 32, can anyone explain what is the difference between the nation state Morocco and the Moroccan Empire? Islam. Sister Jamila, please exercise. Islam. Honest to you. Yes. Islam. Everyone got that? Islam. 33. What's the modern name for Mexim? 34. What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco? 35. Where do we get the name Jesus? 36. What does the name Jesus mean? 37. Did the angel give to a child that was called Jesus a holy name?
Yes.
38. What is an angel? 39. What are angels used for? 40. What is our prophet to us? 41. What is the everlasting gospel? 42. What is the covenant of the great God Allah? 43. At what age did Jesus begin to teach? 44. Where did he teach? So I just want to also throw this out there because every week I do the one-on-ones. I just want to give you a little bit of information. So it says at 43, at what age did Jesus begin to teach? So as I internalize it says, well, what age did justice begin to preach? At the age of 12. Where did he teach? India, Africa, Europe. Now go to that time frame of those lands of those group of people who had needed justice to interfere and intervene to help these particular peoples. That's why another reason that you understand that Jesus means justice, because of what he represented and what he was bringing to these people to open up their minds and their hearts. Islam. 45. How long did he teach? 46. What did Jesus say that would make you free? 47. What is truth? 48. What is all? 49. Can truth change? 50. What other name do we give truth? 51. What have you to say about holy breath? 52. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed? 53. Where's the Garden of Eden? 54. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden? 55. What is the name of the first physical man? 56. What are the words of AC of the MST of A? 57. Who were Adam and Eve? 58. Where did they go? 59. What is the modern name given to the children? 60. Who is guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away? 61. What is the modern name for those angels? 62. What is the shade of their skin? 63. Are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels? 64. Give 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve. 65. What is the devil sometimes called? 66. How many selves are there?
2.
67. Name them.
Higher self, lower self.
68. What people represent the higher self? 69. What people represent the lower self?
Outside of the city, those who accept the teachings.
70. What is the higher self?
Justice, mercy, love, right.
71. Can the higher self pass away?
No.
72. Why? 73. What does the lower self breed? 74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? Can anyone explain what is the difference between the masculine and feminine energies? Meaning that if we read this every Sunday, and have we noticed that in 70, what is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life that breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. The 74 says, what did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? Islam, Shishati.
Difference
Demonstration on
is, the higher self would be the moon.
that.
Moon represents lunar, represents the female, which is the mother of energy, which would be the negative. The sun would be the positive energy because the sun and the sun is used to procreate. You know what I'm saying so the difference is that it takes you back to honor thy mother and father, which that days we long upon the earthland. So to honor her because she's one that brings life to him. So him would be the positive energy, she would be the negative energy, which the moon is feminine and the sun is masculine. So and not only that, the sun is masculine, but Allah, the term like Allah itself is also a feminine principle.
Islam. Indeed. Islam.
I didn't hear that, brother.
Mm-hmm.
The body as it was so beloved.
Islam.
75. What was the answer that the lower self gave to the higher self?
I'm going to explore the earth, seeking whom I made the power.
76. Has he finished his task of devouring?
Yes.
77. When was his time to clear it out?
We nailed Jesus to the cross.
78. What were the last words that Jesus uttered?
It is finished.
79. What did it have reference to?
We have reference to the end of Satan.
80. Did Jesus say that he will return to conquer him?
Yes.
81. What is the name of the first person into Jesus was first reincarnated? 82. Was Satan to be bound then?
Satan was rebound in pride.
83. When was the head of Satan taken off?
1453 plus 10.
84. By whom?
By Muhammad.
85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of the Northwest by the European nations in 1774.
Lucifer, Satan, the devil, dragon, beast.
86.
I'm sorry.
Negro.
Named due to a river in the Northwest Africa. The brothers became black water for the Moors.
80,
Let's do that.
86. 86. Negro.
Negro, a name given to a river in West Africa by
Moors,
Moors
because
because
it
it
contains
contained black water.
Islam. 87. What is meant by the word black?
Black, according to science, means death.
88. What does the word colored mean?
Color means anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed.
89. What does the word Ethiopia mean?
Ethiopia means something divided.
90. Can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian?
No.
91. Why?
Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah.
92. What title does Satan give himself?
God.
93. Will you define the word white?
White means purity. Purity means God. And God means the ruler of the land.
94. To whom do we refer at times being the great God?
Allah.
95. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah?
No. He is a shadow of our lower selves and will pass away.
96. Who made the devil?
Elohim.
97. Who was Elohim?
Elohim is the seven created spirits that created everything that was, is, and evermore to be.
98. What does Elohim sometimes call?
The seven eyes of Allah.
99. How many days are in a circle?
7 days.
100. How many days are in a creation?
7 days.
101. According to science, how many days are in a year?
7 days.
Islam. Any questions or anything you want to build on? Anything pertaining to the 101s before we move on? Islam. All right. We have a speaker coming up soon. I'm just going to give a quick demonstration while that person gets ready. We want to go into chapter 46, the beginning of Christianity. Just want to set this up for today. Islam. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Jesus himself was the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and inhabitants of Africa. Seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. So 101 answer. Crucify him according to their law. Then Europe had peace for a long time until Muhammad the first came. Who was Jesus first reincarnated? First upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth. The holy teaching of Jesus was to the common people to redeem them from under the great pressures of the hands of the unjust. Because what does Jesus mean?
Justice.
that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor. Also, that the lion and the lamb may lie down together, and neither would be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the Ten Commandments. Through the Ten Commandments, the rulers and the rich live, while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people, the lion is the rulers and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace, but there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations and all lands. Because also the prophet came to redeem the Asiatics and the Moors of the Pelican nations, but also he was here for all nations.
That's right.
To teach all nations love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam. I just want to give my little demonstration on that. Next, I will call. I was called to keep going. So we can stay in the Holy Quran and go to chapter 7. The friendships of Jesus and Lamaze. Jesus explains to Lamaze the meaning of truth. That is page 14 for most Qurans. Before I get into chapter 7, I just wanted to go back into the divine constitution and bylaws and just bring something together. Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So now we go into chapter 7, the friendship of Jesus and Lamaze. Jesus explains to Lamaze the meaning of truth. Can truth change?
No.
Among the priests of Juggernaut was one who loved the Jewish boy, which is why I went into Act 6 of the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites, because it's all through the literature. Lamaze Brahmas was the name by which the priest was known. One day, as Jesus and Lamaze walked alone in the plaza Juggernaut, Lamaze said, "My Jewish master, what is truth?" And Jesus said, "Truth is the only thing that changes not. In all the world, there are two things. One is truth and the other is falsehood, and falsehood which seems to be. Now, truth is aught and has no cause, yet it is the cause of everything. Falsehood is naught, and yet it is the manifest of right." So falsehood is all of nothing, but yet is the manifest of everything that's right. So it's the opposite of everything that's right. But without knowing what is actually the truth, that's how we bring falsehood manifest. So we make falsehood our reality. It's possible, doesn't mean that it's true. You can say that I'm black, doesn't mean that it's true. Whatever has been made will be unmade, like the marks that were put upon the Moors of the Northwest. That which begins must end. All things that can be seen by human eyes are manifest of aught, are naught, and so must pass away. The things we see are but reflexes just appearing, while ethers vibrate so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. So I'm going to read it again. 9. The things we see are but reflexes just appearing, while ethers vibrate so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. I could tie that into chapter 1 by man falling. And as the ether began to vibrate so and so, it became into a physical appearance. The holy birth is truth, is that which was, is, and evermore to be. It cannot change nor pass away. Lamar said, "You answer well. Now, what is man? And Jesus said, man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Man is the breath-based flesh, so truth and falsehood are conjoined in them, and they strive, and naught goes down, and man as truth abides. Again, Lamaze asked, what do you say of power? And Jesus said, it is a manifest, it is the result of force, but it is naught. It is an illusion, nothing more. Force changes not, but powers change as the ether changes. 16. Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent, the power that will manifest directly by the breath. There is power in the winds, a power in the wave, a power in a lightning stroke, a power in the human arm, and a power within the eye. These ethers cause these powers to be and thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking things. Direct the force. When it has done its work, the power is no more. Again, Lamaze asks, of understanding, what have you to say? And Jesus said, it is the rock on which man builds himself. It is the gnosis of aught and of the naught of falsehood and truth. So understanding is the rock on which man builds himself on. Understanding is the foundation. Without a foundation, you can't understand anything. It's also leading back into truth. So if someone said that I was black and then I said I wasn't black, what am I using to combat that? How can I know that's falsehood? That's the rock on which I built myself on. It's like the Chevrolet commercial when it ends and then the man is standing on a rock like this. It's an understanding. It is the knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of powers of man himself. Again, Lamaze asked, of wisdom, what do you have to say? 23, and Jesus said, it is the consciousness that man is aught, that Allah and man are one. 24, that naught is naught, that power is but an illusion, that heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, but in, which in the light of aught becomes the naught, and Allah is all. Lamaze asked, pray, what is faith? And Jesus said, faith is the surety of the omnipotence of Allah and man, the certainty that man will reach the deific life. Salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart of man to the heart of Allah. And we know Allah is not a physical being. So the heart of Allah is really opening up one's heart to reach to the most highest plane that man can see at that particular moment. Because again, man is here to gain experience and no man is perfect. So we have to continue to ascend and ascend. It has 3 steps. Belief is first. And this is what man thinks perhaps is true. 29, faith is next. And this is what man knows to be true. 30, fruition is the last. And this is man himself, the truth. 31, belief is lost in faith. And fruition, faith is lost. And man is saved when he has reached the deific life, when he and Allah are one. And before I close out on that, go back to the 101. What was Satan to be bound in? Satan was to be bound in part. When was the head of Satan taken off? 1453 Byzantine. 84 by whom? By Muhammad. So can anyone see the relation of ascending back to Father God Allah, which is everyone's purpose?
Islam.
Because you can't, again, that's why it's the meaning of truth and also the understanding, because how are you going to get somewhere if you don't know where you're going? Right? I say everywhere, let's go to New York. But if you don't know, if you don't have the navigation tools, how are you going to get there? Islam? Any questions? Brother Flying Low?
First, arising, I give all praises to Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honors to Noble Drew Ali, honors to Marcus Luther Darby, honors to the American flag, honors to the Moorish flag, honors to everyone here and everything pertaining to Islam.
Islam.
I wanted to add, thank you. I wanted to add on to what you were saying about naught, how it's like, the opposite of aught.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 2,
No, it's all of nothing and all. It's all of everything.
mm-hmm. Chapter 2, it says right here, this is education of Mary and Elizabeth and Zoe in Egypt. 18, ayat 18, it says, teach them that Allah and man are one, But through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah. He based himself to the basis to reduce from a higher to a lower state, lower in character, virtue, purity, or quality. Teach them, ayat 19, teach them that holy breath will make them one again, restoring harmony and peace. 20, that naught can make them one but love, that Allah so loved the world that he has clothed his son in flesh that man may comprehend. So how we use the naught is like us unfolding and the time we take it to unfold to become one against Allah.
Islam. Sheikh Shati.
Here, real quick. Naught is the reason why ought exists. Because if you didn't know not to do bad, you wouldn't know to do good. If you didn't know to do good, you would not know not to do bad. So they're both intertwined, like the yin and the yang. You need them both. That's why man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. But once you conquer falsehood, you rise up to your highest state.
Any other questions? No. Islam family. Thank you for listening and participation. Next, I would call up Sheikhs of the Temple. Oh, a couple of the Grand Sheikh of the Temple, Nature El Bay. Islam. Gratitude. Thank you, family.
Islam, Moab. Islam. Mothers and the fathers of the human family, the Asiatics and Muslims. Islam.
Islam.
So first, I want to rise giving praise to Allah. It's first and always giving honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days, and giving honors to all true and divine prophets of the days of the past. Giving honors to all beautiful Moors, Asiatics, and all others. Islam. Islam. Want to give special honors to the solstice, which is the winter solstice. So that's a universal and cosmic holiday and holy day for all humans and non-humans. Islam, all forms of life. So I want to embrace that energy of the winter solstice, which officially comes in today. Islam, or the past evening. Islam, and just for those who don't understand the energies and the science of holidays, holy days, you hear us mention the word, thank you, Lord. You hear us mention the word holy day a lot, specifically Friday being the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. But we don't put enough emphasis on holidays, period. So I just want to take a few minutes to balance out and correct false mythology on what holidays actually represent. Because the Quran tells us that a man's ideal is his God. You know, which means that whatever you reverence or whatever you focus all your energy on or look at as your superior thought becomes your God. So everybody's God is going to alter, is going to change according to their understanding. Islam. And being marked and being bred to be slaves, I won't say we were slaves, but that was the intention. So part of not understanding science was a part of the slavery. Like it was said, to keep us deaf, dumb, and blind. So not understanding who we are, not understanding self, not understanding where we came from, all plays a big part on our everyday toil. So with that being said, we don't acknowledge the true or scientific holidays for what they really are. And even in the path of wisdom, sometimes we rebel against holidays because of what we've been told or how we believe. So like Brother Taj would say, we throw the baby out with the bathwater. meaning that we reject certain ideas because of our belief system. However, we don't really embrace the science or even understand the science of it. So we throw it all out. Therefore, that's where our karmatic or our justice that we just spoke about comes in at, the universal justice. So when a record tells us that we don't honor our mothers and our fathers, that our days won't be long upon the earth, we're not just talking about your biological or physical mother and father. So again, that's why Moorish Americans were supposed or sanctioned or summoned to come to the Moorish Science Temple to learn how to apply science to their everyday life. Islam? So we notice that the solstice comes in on the 21st of December, according to modern day calendar. And then you notice a few days later is what they refer to as Christmas, which most people refer to it as a Christian holiday, but not understanding that it has nothing to do with a Christian holiday. However, the religion referred to as Christianity is responsible for a lot of the rituals that's done during this, what we call a season. However, they're not responsible for the holiday itself. So sometimes we give too much credit to those who do not deserve it. So am I saying embrace the Christmas holiday? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you embrace the winter solstice because of what it represents. It's a part of you regardless of what your belief system is. Regardless of what your religion is, it has nothing to do with religion itself or any of the religions. So this is where you hear the term season greetings, meaning what? You're embracing the coming in of a season. Well, what is a season? A season is a cardinal point.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with the cross, there's some people also think it's Christianity, which is not. It's dealing with your compass and square. It's your symbol of your universe. Or circle 7, your clock, or whatever you want to make reference to. But this is science we're dealing with. So our job is we read religious texts, but we are to decode it and what? Get the science out of it.
That's right.
Right? That's our job. So the thing is not to just reject what we've been told in the past growing up, but to bring clarity to what we've been told and correct our concept so then we can go correct someone else's concept. That's what teaching our people about their nationality and their divine creed is all about. Islam? So is it just a holiday for Christians or any? No. Universally speaking, we embrace the science that there's only one God and one religion. Scientists understand that. However, people might refer to their different belief systems by different names. So therefore you have different, what we call religions.
Right.
But there's only one way to bind back to your creator. And that's through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Whatever you call it, that's your preference. And here in this portion of America, you're entitled to call it whatever you want. That's what Article 1, First Amendment, actually represents. Islam? However, we need to understand that everyone is celebrating the holiday from their own perspective. And it's all right. And we don't want to seem anti-religious or anti-American from that perspective of what people think that term means by just rejecting or rebelling from the whole concept. And I know many people who do. That's why I'm making reference to it. And not just for us adults, it's very important that our children understand this, because they're in a society where they don't understand and they have been told to favor one way over another. So they socialize with people who embrace a certain idea. So it's going to bring confusion to children. And if you don't clear this up, they're going to be confused. Most of us don't clear it up because we're still confused ourselves. According to the language or the native tongue that someone speaks, they're going to utter the season greetings in their own native tongue. So we have to understand what are some of the names that go along with some of the season greetings. Then we won't just be biased or reject certain things when we hear it. Somebody says something to you and you quick to jump at them and snap. And I'm not saying anybody in this room, just saying in general that sometimes we snap at people because we don't embrace their understanding. And that causes confusion. And that's why Noble Drew Ali says that we don't contribute to religious controversy. Pardon me. Say something.
No, I was thinking out loud. I was saying it at the time I was up there. Naturally,
Oh, all right. Yes, please. That's better. Islam. So we spoke a little bit about this last week, about the December 25th demonstration. Now, December 25th was actually a day that they refer to as Christmas, right? Which represents really the sun being at its lowest point in the equator. So December 25th wasn't always the day that was observed for or marked as the national holiday of what they refer to as Christmas. So again, we know the solstice comes in on around the 21st. However, Christmas Day was acknowledged or observed on different days throughout different administrations of this government. So we know that legislation has the power to change or make laws, change laws, etc. However, so the administration of our government has changed the day a few different times throughout history. So one can't just be focused on one thought, or this is someone's birthday, or this is the only day or the day that this is supposed to be observed. That's why you see different other nationalities and religions mark certain days as their religious observance day. Give you an example, the Jews, Hanukkah.
yeah.
So just because one might start their holiday on one day, don't mean it's a different holiday altogether. It's the same holiday, it's just acknowledged on different days. Even in the East, it's a holiday for them as well. And the Eastern countries are predominantly Islamic. They're getting more and more brainwashed. However, they're still predominantly Islamic. But it's still an olden holiday even in the East that was observed on different days as well, even going into January. January 6th through January 8th was a big celebration-wise and ritual-wise Egyptians celebrated the holiday. So again, it changes. So we have, when they say get into the holiday spirit, you got to understand what that really represents. Is that we have to change our minds about certain things that we do and how we preserve the natural order of the universe. So that's why when I refer to it as a universal holiday, is because it's a religion for the universe. And what I say by religion don't mean a belief system. It's a consistent operation of the universe, which it doesn't change and doesn't alter based off the cosmology's belief system. You know, the sun don't change direction because it don't feel like it, because it's been influenced by something else. But man does. You understand? But we say that we are God. So that means that if we are gods, then we need to think like we're gods and do things that gods should do. So let's look at some of the cause and effects behind the holiday. And it might seem, holiday people think joy, you know, cheerful, gifts, different things, fun, whatever their interpretation is of what a holiday is supposed to be. So if you look at the dynamics of the cause and effect behind what's really going on, is for us in this hemisphere, and especially on this coast, it's cold, it's freezing. Some don't experience that at all. You know, so that whole snow and dreaming of a white Christmas and all that, that idea is actually only here. So you think, what would be the carols and other rituals on other parts of the world if they don't even experience that type of weather? There wouldn't be no Santa Claus, no chimney. They don't even make chimneys in areas or parts of the world that don't get cold. They don't even have HVAC heat systems in some parts of the country. So they'll be looking at you funny, you talking about Santa coming down somebody's chimney. They'd be like, well, what is a chimney? They might not even know what a chimney is. You know, so just giving us some thoughts. But we know it's, you know, supposedly put there for children, you know, but some of us adults still think like that. You know. But I want to deal with cause and effect. So why does it get cold? Here. And what does it mean by the sun is at its lowest point? So now we're dealing with the glyphs. We touched on it last week, but it's the circle 7 glyph. This is why when Brother Omari gave the lesson about opening the meetings up according to the circle 7, it doesn't mean just open the book and read. Some refer to the book as the circle 7 itself and not really understanding what the circle 7 actually represents. But the glyph that we're speaking about has what some call a broken circle. Some say it's 4 breaks in a circle. Whatever your understanding is, it's all right. But you're looking at what we call the breaks for a reason, because it's a glyph. No different if I erase this and just put a cross here, some people will reject it because they will automatically look at it as a Christian cross or Christianity and throw it away. So instead of it being a cross, he's giving you other schools of thought behind it and putting the cross is still here. The cross is within the breaks itself. But he's giving you other ideas of what the cross also represents. And these are the seasons, which there's 4 of them. So the season greetings are we're embracing the winter solstice.
That's right.
So that's what the holiday is about for humanity. And again, most of us know this, but again, I don't want to go past anyone. If someone don't understand, they can raise their hand. Children are in the back, but hopefully they are getting the same lesson in their own vibration. Islam. Islam, brother. Brother Don. Good to see you, by the way. Islam.
Just a quick question.
Mhm.
Is that would this solstice feel that maybe it's the beginning or the start? Usually what winter, spring, summer, fall. So would this be a little more important, or should we say the beginning?
That's a good Good evaluation and good question in Islam. Yes, absolutely. And again, we touched on that a little last week, but just to backtrack for a second. January 1st, we've been programmed to look at as the new year. However, January 1st just represents the fiscal new year. All right. With the sun being at its lowest point, it's being cold here, no vegetation, no life, is a dead season for corporations and for humanity here. But however, it's a dead season. Now we're dealing with the eighth house.
Yes.
When we make reference to death, all right, which is a state and a transition. So the sun, the universe, is going through a transition. And when we're dealing with a transition being at its lowest point, that means that even us as humans, we're at our lowest point, our lowest stage of potential in this particular transitional period. Therefore, everything is, even the people, astrologists, who is deep into the science, and even government. And when I say, I don't like to separate it because government, politicians, elite deal with the science. I wouldn't really call them astrologists, but they utilize the science for good and for bad, according to their preference. So people who are in the know utilize it and they navigate this way. So businesses, usually corporate businesses, elite, usually shut down, not only because the sun is just at its lowest point, not because it's a holiday and they want to spend time with their family, but it becomes a fiscal because astrologically speaking, the vibration is not in the best interest of good business opportunities. No different from a farmer will be out of business right now. And he will prepare and circle his business around the seasons. Same things in the corporate world and elite, where a lot of business deals don't take place around this time because of this science. So even mortgage companies, I spoke about this last week, big corporations don't really make too many deals around this time of season because of the potentials of these deals can go sour because of the way the energies and the stars line up. So astrologers, people who understand the science, actually navigate the stars, and not just physically about going to and fro the earth, but also navigating it mentally. And in economic field, they make a decision or plan certain events based off the way the stars line up, because they say it's more favorable during a certain time. Like we have a term in astrology that refers to being in retrograde.
Retrograde.
So if there's a retrograde between certain alignments, it means we would call a negative aspect.
Absolutely.
Which means that it's not a favorable situation or a favorable time to do certain things. So astrologically, it's not favorable because things are going on in the universal's creation that's not favorable to each other. So no different from we deal with matching and mating in the human world when we deal with astrology, and we say, well, certain signs are just not compatible with each other. All right, that would be an example of a retrograde, where certain relationships just don't work out because people don't understand to do charts and to understand the frequencies between two different astrological signs or makeups. And if they don't do that, they get into relationships for the wrong reasons because of looks and other things, and don't understand that their makeups might not be compatible. Therefore, they argue a lot and a lot of things go bad, or they wind up breaking up after a while. They just couldn't make it work, which could have been avoided if they dealt with the science instead of the emotions.
So,
So that's what we, again, been tricked into, not thinking that stuff is evil and we don't get into it. It's witchcraft and all that other stuff. We've been taught to stay away from science. You understand? And as long as we stay in the ignorant state, then others can govern us and we can't govern ourselves. Islam. So back to your point, January became the fiscal new year, which doesn't represent the astrological new year or the universal new year. The universal new year and astrological new year is the vernal equinox, which is March 21st. So technically that is the new year, which we call spring. Spring means set forth, means beginning. So not just our beginning, but the universe's beginning.
That's right.
And from an astrological sign and makeup, we're dealing with the sign of Aries.
Yeah.
To initiate. Like you said, Hiram. The ram.
That's right.
So that represents the beginning. To initiate, to start. Genesis. Going back to your Helios, which is sun book, the Bible.
That's right.
Helios means sun.
Helios.
So the Bible is written according to the cosmos. And it's characterized that way, symbolized that way. And again, we was given the literature for other reasons than to understand the cycle within it. That's why the lessons you just heard where it speaks about Jesus meaning justice had to be corrected because we think Jesus is the Son of God. And we're thinking that Jesus was born December 25th. And that's why we're getting gifts and everything else. So it's the close of the season. Now, it could be considered the end or the last stage because following this season is an initiation taking place. It's like the scorpion, the eighth house we make reference to. So the eighth house represents death and regeneration. So it recycles. And this is what the scorpion and the eagle and the phoenix does.
That's right.
So this is why they use deities, animals, etc. to represent some of your astrological navigational tools. Because they're great examples of what's going on with the universe. So you're ending a phase. You're at the last stage of a phase of a cycle. So you have to prepare and navigate accordingly and get ready for the new birth or to start what we call a new year. However, the books end January 1st or begins January 1st for corporations speaking. And we just adjusted our lives to the corporate reality of things because they say we are corporations. So it will be the new year for people who think that they are artifice. Artifice is creation. And a person is referred to as a corporation on paper. So again, they say, as a man thinketh, so it manifests. So it could be the new year, all depending who you are. There's different interpretations. So again, it's important that we understand the science of it, because the children are the ones that actually suffer. We could say, well, we all right. We not caught up into any of that stuff, and we just choose to do what we want. However, we don't really realize how children suffer, even based off of our belief and into our movement, our way of life and thinking. We don't really take time to view how our children suffer, even our families suffer because of our way of thinking. And sometimes we make it worse by not knowing how to balance and bring understanding to situations. We cause more separation and hatred and controversy, even in with our family and even with other people, co-workers, friends, whoever, neighbors, etc. behind this. I was talking about the certain situations that occurred in Jersey City last week, where there was hate crimes going on. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. And they've been having like the Attorney General been having like lectures and workshops with the Jewish community up in North Jersey pertaining to how to counsel certain communities that feel threatened by these situations. So I was listening to one of them, and the Attorney General was saying that they was asking him or something on how to prevent this, or pretty much how to prevent it. And just in a nutshell, he said, well, the way you prevent, you can't stop this, and the only way to prevent it is for the leaders to teach kindness. And I was listening to his speech, and it was very well put, and it sounds just like something that we would say. Like Drew Ali taught us, we need to learn to love instead of hate, and we are to teach love. All right, and it's the same lesson, but the way he broke it down was very similar, like he was coming right from the book. And he said people need to teach kindness. You need to teach people kindness. These organizations and leaders are teaching wrong. They don't teach kindness. So they teach to hate these group of people, or to hate this, or to hate themselves. And that's the problem. You can't blame a religion. You can't blame a group of people. You got to blame the leaders for not teaching kindness. That is at the top of the list. There's a lot of things that we need to learn. Absolutely. And like I said, we be wanting to learn what affects us directly, what we need to deal with next week. That's what we want to learn about. That's why we want to come to a meeting, come to a class. And we got to understand that the overall order of the day is love. That's why we have to read our divine constitution and bylaws. It tells us the same message. We're not to make any radical agitating speeches against no one. Why? Because Allah is love. So I just said that just to embrace the how you greet one another, how you speak to people outside of your immediate community. We have to give off that spirit and heart of love at all times, or else you will be labeled and classified. That's what makes the difference. It's not, brother.
That love that you're talking about is, and you're talking about the season of greeting. That's why they portray that. So to give love. All the courts at that time are even amendable on the love set. And what you were saying about the season of greeting, beings that we are in a solar system, and we have a solar plexus. That's our divine connection to this center. And Each day from the 25th on,
Yes.
each day represents a degree of the solar system.
Yes.
And our solar plexus gain in light
Mm.
till we get to the vernal equinox.
Yes.
And that's, it's really a festival of the sun, a festival of lights growing in us and in creation.
Illuminated.
The vernal
Illumination.
equinox, yes.
Islam. Absolutely. Thank you, Brother Malfoy. Yes. So illumination.
Yes.
This is why you see all of these Christmas lights,
Yes.
so to speak. All right. So it's very important to understand symbolism. The lesson says that Allah speaks to man through man. He said people come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. That's how people learn. It's through ceremonies and forms and through rituals. That's why it says a right symbolic may be introduced. So we are under the influence of not just programs. We spoke about that before, but those that govern and run the major corporations and government, they understand this information, and they will present it to us in ritualistic form, and it makes them fiat finance. So they get paid off the science. Back to last week's lesson, that we need to do the same, not from a negative perspective or to mislead anybody, but everyone's getting paid off of true science, and we're not.
Exactly.
By us not understanding it from a nation perspective, we're economically disadvantaged, referred to as minorities, and broke people and poor people and all of this because we don't understand science. Point blank. Has nothing to do with religion or this book or that book. It's science. Because a scientist is not going to fret at any of this stuff, because they understand science. They know what it is. They know where it's coming from. But if they see that you're without that knowledge, there's nothing that they can communicate with you about. And this is why we suffer. Even this time of year that I made reference to last week, this is a very emotional time or period for our people.
Right. Exactly.
And the surveys show it. So we've become the biggest consumers.
Yes. Absolutely.
They say we don't pay our bills during this time of year. Why? Because what we feel emotionally obligated to,
That's right.
we take what we do have and put towards someone else's program.
Oh, yes.
And we don't even fear the repercussions of it because we're so obligated to the program that it's worth the sacrifice. Where other people are coming up because they want to close out the books, and their Merry Christmas is their pockets all the way to the bank.
Absolutely.
Even people who don't even believe in it.
That's right.
Exactly.
But we run away from it because we don't understand it. We don't want to deal with it. And we just run away from all of the aspects of it. And we can't even make a profit off of it. That's sad. Islam, brother, universal.
Allah's honest, simple, also to touch on the last class, physically, but spiritually do online.
Islam.
Going into the businesses, as you were saying, with the holidays, also, it's also another attack on the people as in the vaccines, the vaccinations.
Absolutely.
And, dealing with that aspect, getting into the corporations and businesses, you have to go through vaccinations. And even as a child coming into the world, you're getting that, that spell inside you. So it's an attack on the children as well to get your mind, disbodilated dealing with what we're doing today.
Absolutely. Islam. And thank you for bringing that point up, because, and you notice that they implementing these ideas, because a vaccination is not just a physical needle or injection into your physical body, but it's also mental vaccinations going on as well. So a lot of the things that they're broadcasting or what's going on is staged vaccinations, and they're planting thoughts into people's minds around this time of year, and even politically. You know, this whole thing about Trump being impeached, the vaccinations you're speaking about. With New Jersey, just as an update, Monday that just passed, they tabled the assembly passed the New Jersey vaccination bill. However, they didn't send it before the House, so therefore they didn't hear it. They didn't rule on it. They tabled that until January. I believe January 6th is the exact date. All right. So they tabled it. So the House passed it, but therefore they didn't rule on it. So it's not in effect because more people came out, more support. And like I told you Sunday, Friday, they flooded the State House. Monday, they tripled that and went back down there on Monday because they had tabled it from Friday. They said they couldn't hear because of all the people and all the noise, all the protesting. So they interrupted the assembly. So they said that they was going to table it to Monday, which they did. Monday, the people came out in groves again, and it was enough to table it now until January. So there's a lot going on with that. And that's dealing with the vaccination bill for New Jersey. And the good part about it is you see more and more people becoming conscious. They're willing to stand up for certain aspects of the Constitution, regardless of what part affects them personally. They feel an obligation to stand up for it, and it's good that finally it's something that people universally agree to, that they are coming out collectively to support the defense of the Constitution, at least in one area of the Constitution. But it's needed, it's very healthy for the citizens of New Jersey because it's showing the legislation that they are willing to stand up. Islam, who's going to say something?
I just wanted to say, some of them vaccinations are time orientated. So you give it to your children when they're young and they affect them later on in life.
Exactly.
So we have to be conscious of that.
Yes. Islam. Yes, sir.
First, I rise, give all praises due to Allah, and honor to the Noble Drew Ali, to the Grand Sheikh, to Sheikhs, and all that pertains to Islam. One of the reasons why a lot are coming out, even though they don't believe in the reasons why they're there, they're coming out specifically because the more liberty you give them, the more they take. And they're looking as though, well, maybe the vaccination doesn't apply to me right now. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have kids or whatever. However, sooner or later, they'll have something that does apply to me. So I need to step forward now, show numbers, just so that I won't have to worry about this down the road. Just like I'm a part of standing up for those that are against the vaccination, that it actually will apply to and affect their life. When my time comes, when something is going to affect me that may not affect them, the numbers will still be there. So their whole idea is that the more liberty you give them against you, the more they will get and the stronger they will become. And you lose in the end. So I think that's another reason why a lot of people go out and stand, because even though it doesn't affect them in their life.
Islam. And you notice how they pick and choose when they want to use the Constitution to their advantage and play games around it. So the bill is before the House in New Jersey for vaccinations. And they want to kind of discredit and dishonor the people's First Amendment rights, so to protect their rights, so to speak. But on the other side, they just passed another bill this week that Union City of New Jersey has become the first sanctuary city to acknowledge the Second Amendment of the Constitution, the right to bear arms. So it's like, how are you gonna push a bill that dishonors the First Amendment and then turn around and place a bill or acknowledge a bill that acknowledges the Second Amendment? When it two different aspects, two different sides of the spectrum. Now, of course, we have a right to everything that is stated, but however, if you got a problem with the First Amendment, you got to have one with the Second. What's more harmful?
The Second Amendment.
And I'm not against the people's right to bear arms. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just saying that if you're thinking with common sense, the same people gonna push a bill where they make a sanctuary municipality, which is still unconstitutional, because the municipality itself don't supersede the state.
No, it doesn't.
So how can you have a certain city that have to be that's a sanctuary where you acknowledge their Second Amendment rights? That means that the people that only can afford to live in that city are the only ones that is acknowledged to have a right to carry?
Yes.
Because you know that the so-called lower class is not in that jurisdiction.
Exactly.
So it does, they can't argue that.
Absolutely.
So you see the distraction?
Florida too.
It's not really what the meeting's about today, but it's just, you got to stay in tune, because these people, they got so much going on. They hit us from so many different angles. You can't attain all of this stuff.
You can't ignore it either.
Absolutely. It's just distraction.
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
You plug one hole, they come from another angle. Yes, sir.
You just said it's not pertaining. I asked Brother Lee to give a title to the meeting. It said divine wisdom.
Mhm.
It is pertaining, because all of it interacts with our lives.
Mhm.
If you're going to ignore the First Amendment, then and apply the Second Amendment, it takes me to the prophet's oral statements. It says, before this gets any better, it'll be blood this high in the streets. And everything I read about his prophetic sayings is coming to pass. He says this. He says, because if the above statements are not adhered to, we heading for another civil war.
Islam.
So they letting Union City bear arms because, like you said, they're the lion. And they letting the poor, they don't have no rights at all. It's something's got to buck. You can't do people like that.
Yes.
So that's just, so I just said that to say that it is your statement does pertain to this meeting of divine wisdom.
Islam. Last portion before I close, I want to talk about is Sheikh Shatik made reference earlier to the divine warning by the prophet when we was having a conversation, and he mentioned how the divine warning states that since the Constitution has been enforced since 1774, declared all men to be equal and free. Since that Constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the application of the 14th and the 15th Amendment for the salvation of my people and the citizens. This was a quote that Noble Drew Ali wrote, right? Most of you are familiar with it. So I just want to give you a quick brief on that situation, on that statement. So the Constitution that he made reference to that's been enforced since 1774 is referred to as the Articles of Association. All right. It also makes reference to what they refer to as the Continental Association, because it was implemented by the First Continental Congress. So when you hear the term, sometimes people will call it the continental United States. They're making, it's not a different United States. They're making reference to a certain administration of the United States. Pre-1787 means pre-George Washington. And most of us know that whole history and story. So that's what they refer to as the Continental Congress, the Continental Army. They even had what they call the Continental Flag. They had the Bunker Hill flag, all depending on your school of thought. So I want to give you a brief on what that's about. Yes, Islam. So the Prophet wasn't endorsing the Articles of Association as it's the organic law of the nation, or it's our organic law. That's not why he mentioned it. If you read carefully the doctrine, it says that since the Constitution that has been enforced since 1774 declared all men to be equal and free. That means a declaration took place in 1774, which was an acknowledgement that all men at that point was to be declared equal and free. That was their declaration that they made against so-called Britain. He says, since that Constitution has never been changed. Now, what is that all about? We did a meeting maybe a month ago, and I went into Article 6 of the United States of America's Constitution.
Yep.
And I showed us how to bridge the gap, how to bring customary law or old law, pre-existing law, into modern day procedures,
That's right.
arguments, acknowledgement, where it says that all debts, contracts, and engagements entered in before the adoption of this Constitution, that was 1774. That's when the adoption was, right?
That's right.
All right. So it says the date shall be as valid against the United States as what? Who knows the rest of it? As under the Confederation. It's the rest of that Article 6. That's where it deals with the Articles of Confederation of the Confederate States, the Confederate Army. Is all going back to that same era of time. All right, so it's saying to you that any laws that was made prior to 1787 is still enforced, is still in existence, is still valid under this new administration as just as it was under the old administration. All right, that was what the Articles of Association was all about. So I just want to read to you in brief. The term British Constitution. We know all nations have a constitution, right? We're clear on that already. But this is the British Constitution. It says the framework for running the British government. The British Constitution is unwritten, consisting of common law, acts of parliament, and political customs and traditions. So I want to show you something. The so-called founding fathers of this present United States of America was said to use this Articles of Association, and what followed the Articles of Association was the Declaration of Independence. They used these two bodies of law, these declarations, the edicts of it, to declare themselves free and independent from Britain.
From England, that's right.
Right? This is what the word on the street is.
Yes.
So Britain's constitution, Britain was the slaveholder at the time, according to what they're saying, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They was the nation that enslaved another nation, however you want to say it. Their own constitution, I just read to you, says that it's unwritten law.
Unwritten.
What makes up the British Constitution, and the Constitution is the supreme law of a land, right?
Unwritten law.
Constitution is the highest law of a land, physical law.
That's right.
Is revered as the highest law of the land. Their own constitution is said to be the framework of unwritten laws and traditions and customs that predates the existence of whatever you call in the Constitution itself.
Yes.
So if you understand, if a constitution is said to be the supreme law of the land, you have to look at what makes up that constitution to see what is its virtues. This is why Drew Ali referred to as the United States Constitution as one of the greatest documents of all times. Because it's not the physical framework of the Constitution itself is what made it up. What makes it up is Mosaic law.
That's right.
As I said in the past, Mosaic law or Muslim customary law is what makes up the Constitution of the United States. And that's how you have to view it and acknowledge it in your present day understanding of the modern day laws.
Right.
They themselves said it in their own articles of association and their preamble and the 1787 Constitution of the United States.
Islam.
They said they hold these truths to be self-evident, that every man was created equal and endowed by his creator. So with that being said, they use tradition and customary, also known as common law, to declare themselves free and independent, to break away from tyranny.
That's right. Just the cause of
And unpatriotic acts, and what they refer to in those days as intolerable acts.
That's right.
Of Britain. That no one's supposed to live like that and no one should be economically disadvantaged. So they use that to economically free themselves from whoever you would. Some people want to say that the British was the Moors and whatever you want to say. That's not what the topic, what the lesson is right now. But regardless of who were enslaving them, it was obvious that they used the customary law to free themselves.
Absolutely.
So like Drew Ali said, that if they can use it, why not you?
Actually.
They will contradict themselves. Anybody, I'm not talking about any group of people, but I'm just saying for anyone to practice slavery or to restrain another is unconstitutional, not based off unconstitutional of the United States Constitution, but is a violation of universal constitution. And what brought this understanding to not understanding, but why I'm bringing this up now, because we were building on this earlier, and why Drew Ali said is a sin for any group of people. He didn't say it was a violation of constitutional law. He said it was a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to names and principles that delude to slavery. So he said there is only but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and it comes only through the above statements.
That's right.
So again, the topic, the focus point is that divine warning. Divine means God, a warning from God. Don't get caught up into the individual who wrote it. Deal with the message itself. The message is unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
Great God of the universe is not pleased, right? That was his message.
That's right.
The great God of the universe, regardless of what you call him, is not pleased with the acts are being done by my people.
That's right. That's been done by my people.
Now let's go into the science of that real quick. Some people might view that as religious. Let's get into the science of it.
Please do that.
He said, if it's not carried out by my people and the citizens, the worst is yet to come. You're seeing that
Today.
manifest now. What some people refer to that as prophecies.
Prophecy. Yes, it is.
But it's not prophecies. You understand? It's science.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Cause
right.
and effect, I like
Cause
to
and
call it.
effect. That's right.
Cause and effect,
Calm.
or justice,
That's it.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
So you have to look at now Capricorn. Go back into today's lesson to end this all up. Justice takes its course around this time of year.
That's right.
Yes.
So we-
Tropical Capricorn. Yes.
We look at, and this is what the judge is demonstrating in the courtroom.
Mhm.
That's why he's in all black. We have to understand the science. Capricorn, the code for us on this side of the spectrum is justice. It's justice. And if we don't channel the energies properly and understand the universal's energy, we will suffer. We will come out with the short end of the stick. Universally speaking, it affects us. We go through the harsh times during this time of the year. Why? Because it's justice. That means it's a pendulum. It comes around. There's no mystery within it. So they say we reap what we sow. So understanding whatever, we all individually go through it in our own way. So we got to understand that we have to be fruitful all season in order to absorb or channel or balance out this season. If we don't, then when it comes to this season, it's too late to balance out because we already at our lowest point. We already, let's use another term, because I'm using the term lowest point because I'm coming from the astrological perspective. But just in common layman's perspective, we're disadvantaged. We're at a disadvantage this season, most of us,
So,
who have not been fruitful in the other highlights. Like the summer is the highlight part of the season. But if we didn't have a good summer, we're not going to have a good winter.
absolutely.
Those with seasonal occupations understand that because they know that they have to put away, because a lot of businesses that is affected by the season comes to a halt
To a halt.
this time of year. So therefore they have to put away to last them through the winter. There's animals that do the same thing, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Birds fly south for the winter, they say. Well,
That's right.
what's up with the bird? Did the bird have a higher IQ than us? What's going on? But we got to think like that. We got to look at that. We don't necessarily have to go south, but we're going to go south economically if we don't plan. And that's what's occurring. So we just got to put ourselves in a better situation, better position. Is what the lesson comes down to be. Is Islam. Brother Don, you got the last word.
Just one quick
Yes,
question.
sir.
As far as relating it to religion
Mm-hmm.
type of thing, some people say you are judged when you are here, not necessarily a place and time when you go. Relating it to the season, as far as how we go around,
Mm-hmm.
you were just saying you reap what you sow in that season.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be relatable to almost, should we say, how would I say that, being judged here on the earth, upon your deeds,
Mm-hmm.
coming into each season, meaning that what you've done through that whole season, you reap what you sow at the end of that season. Does it kind of correlate? I know it probably
Yes.
exactly, but
Yeah, it can apply. Let's say that it could apply. We can apply it on all different levels. You know, and like I said, you can look at it from a business perspective, corporate perspective. In the corporate world, they go by quarters.
Yeah.
So it kind of like in that terminology to be the same. They each quarter they do evaluations of what they've done, the numbers, and they stay on top of all of this stuff. You know, so again, man should take the same, enforce the same principles.
True.
With personal examination and evaluation. You know, and certain customs and traditions is used in a household just from our upbringing that we don't even realize is related to that. We just haven't, you know, we haven't made that connection that is similar or related to it. I'll give you an example. In the astrological new year, which is spring, you know, in our households, most people refer to it as spring cleaning. So they know to do that. You know, which is an old time tradition that we just learned, and I just learned that from your parents.
Yeah.
But why? It's dealing with the same principles that we're talking about. There's cause and effect behind that. So some might call it a myth or whatever, but you know, a lot of people do carry it out, regardless if they believe in any particular religion or belief system or whatever. It's just something. It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Once you really look at it on why you do it. It doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason behind it or a doctrine, but it just makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
You know, people in their yard cleaning up, they don't need a religion to tell them to do that. It just makes sense. Your yard going to tell on itself if you don't do it. Fall, the same thing. Well, why they call it the fall? Well, go outside and you'll find out. That's what's going on outside, though. But we got to look from within. Something's falling within us, too, that we don't pay attention to. We deal with things when we're forced to deal with them. When we just can't avoid them anymore, someone forces us to bring attention to something, that's when we deal with it. And we shouldn't. That's part of us that we just, the cycle within self that we just have to change. You know, like Drew Ali even said, he says, get ready before you're forced to. What does that mean? It means don't wait to the last minute or don't wait till someone's forcing you to address something. Because usually by that time, it's too late. And we're already in the effect of it and don't understand that we're in the effect. So now it's harder for us to try to balance it. And that's just even, they had it on commercial yesterday, how they were saying that they was making mockery out of it, but they were just saying that a lot of people shopping, last minute shoppers, they pay the price for it. Even just dealing with the Christmas holiday. You know, most of the people flooding the malls and shopping, they call them late shoppers.
Absolutely.
Where people that are more successful economically are already finished. You know, they've been finished. You know, however, again, that's part of preparation. We're in a position that it's hard for us to prepare. We might want to do something on time, like pay our bills. But unfortunately, we might not have the funds to do that. You know, so again, that it's something that's psychological that's involved in all of that puts us in that situation. And those are that form of economic slavery that we're trying to break. Islam. So I'm going to yield up on that part of the lesson. We have some guests here today that we honor that would like to come and also talk to us a little bit about better economic strategies and changing some of these economic ties that we might have. So we're going to close out officially, and then we're going to bring up our guests to speak on that. That's why I hope you give them the same attention that you gave myself. Islam?
Islam.
So right now, just
I'll get it.
we can table that, Shati.
Yeah.
Table the donation part for now. I'm gonna just close out with this portion of the meeting.
Okay,
And then
okay,
yes.
got it.
Islam. So I would just ask all members to rise and observe the closing prayer. Sheikh Nika, you able to lead us in a closing prayer, please?
Islam.
Islam.
May Allah, by our hearts and minds, back to our ancient forefathers, divine creative principles, this we ask, in our holy name, and the seven lanes. Amen.
Islam. Meeting is now closed.
Brother, how you doing?
Jamila, I'll talk to you for 1 second.
Islam, Moses, we're going to close out. Peace and love.